A much bigger slate on Thursday and hopefully a lot more goals compared to the games on Wednesday. Guys, welcome to PuckTime here on WagerTalk TV. Myself, Andrew McGinnis, Carmine Bianco, and Mr. Bryan Leonard here with us to break down 3 games, props, best bets, promos, and all kinds of great stuff. Happy to have all you guys with us here watching live and all of you guys that watch after work. Looking for some winners. Carm, good morning to you, sir. How are you? And what games do you choose for us today on this busy Thursday slate?
Andrew, I'm blessed to be on the show with a man who has, I guess, the red phone direct line to God up there, because 2 empty net goals for you, and you get the win yesterday. 5% play. Congratulations on that one. When the first one went in with 2 minutes and 1 second left, Andrew, I'm like, he's got a shot, because I know they're going to pull their goalie again, and they did. And you get the goal. And listen, um, we complain about our bad beats, but and it's perfect because we have Bryan on the show today. Bryan talks about puck luck. You got to have it sometimes. You had it yesterday, and last night. Way to go, man! We're blessed to have Bryan on here and his stats. And I'm blessed, and I'm also blessed, Andrew, that I remembered that after our show yesterday with Buster, I remembered this morning about meeting some of Buster's friends, and let's just say they're little whatever. So I usually start the car for my wife in the morning. This morning I let her start it just in case, something happens. Buster's friends visited in the middle of the night. But with that said, we got the Rangers and Devils. We got the Leafs and Carolina. 2 really good games to kick it off. Your prop playlist. Then we're going to go to the Islanders and the Vegas Golden Knights because Bryan Leonard is here. We are going to try and make it through step 1 with bullet number 2 of the Get Dan and Carm to the Super Bowl. And of course, our best bets to close out the show. And let's bring him in because he is wearing the top I wanted to see him wearing today. He's got the Vegas Golden Knights top on. Bryan, welcome to the show. And just before we kick off the Devils and the Rangers, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's good to be back on the show. And you had mentioned starting the car. I don't know if you ever heard the story from Chris Andrews. He grew up in Reno and Las Vegas, and he used to get paid $100 a day to go start the car from one of the gangsters. He thought it was the greatest deal ever. He goes, this guy really likes me. He pays me $100 to warm up the car before he comes out. True story by Chris Andrews. Next time you talk to him, ask him about it.
That's some real stuff right there, Bryan. That's
some gangster shit, yeah.
Yeah. Especially not knowing what the hell you're actually doing. That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah. And we worry about empty net goals, Andrew.
Yeah,
we worry about empty net goals.
I gotta say, Carm, I made a point to tweet out that I was lucky, just because I had, people are gonna call you out unless you call yourself out. So I wanted to make sure I got ahead of it on Twitter, and I was like, hey, I know I got lucky. I said it like 3 times in 3 different tweets because you guys know how people are online, right? So I was like, look, I know we got lucky. And the thing is, you guys know I've fallen in love with the team totals the past year and a half. But maybe on some of these big plays, I got to just pick the right side because it was almost going to be back-to-back nights. It would have been 9% total, 4% and a 5% play. Calgary and then last night on Florida where I picked the right side and the team total didn't come in. So the team total has really helped, protect my bankroll. But man, I would have been so pissed. I mean, I already marked it as a loss. I was betting the live over and hoping that would hit. But, I just wanted to make sure I got it in front of it, Carm, because people are going to message you. You got lucky. So I had to get ahead of it.
Andrew, do you know what's betting NHL hockey? Because you're obviously much younger than me, probably half my age. You know what betting NHL hockey for 30-plus years does to you? Let me just show you.
Yeah, I knew what you were going to say.
I used to have a full head of hair, man. God, we'll have to post one of those pictures at some point before the playoffs start the season. But Bryan, Devils returning home, actually not returning home, but returning to the East Coast. The end of a road trip ends in Madison Square Gardens, minus 180 on the Devils tonight. Looks like it's going to be Markstrom. The Rangers plus 150. And I got an alert just before the game, just before we went to air, because I had Jonathan Quick as the starting goalie. or the expected goalie in this one. He's going for 400 wins. He's stuck at 399 with this Rangers team. He was going for his 400, but now it's confirmed to Shesterkin in goal for this one. How are you breaking this one down?
Yeah, that's the reason why all the Rangers got hit maybe about 10 minutes ago. They opened a 155 dog. Now you can get them as low as 135. So that is something that happened just a few minutes ago, and it surprised me because I like New Jersey here. New Jersey expected game score in 5-on-5 game share, a goal share 56.29. The Rangers 48.26. New Jersey has a plus 39 goal advantage on the season. It's obvious New Jersey's the better team. This is the final game of a West Coast trip for the Devils, who dropped the first four before winning in Seattle on Monday. Now they're heading back as teams do, and they get another stop. And sometimes that runs into a little bit of a look ahead, and then you pass that up a little bit because you can't wait to get home. Hopefully that doesn't happen today. As I mentioned, I like the Devils here. They beat the Rangers in both prior meetings 5-1 and 5-0. And this is just the type of opponent that New Jersey needs to see. As I mentioned, they dropped 3 out of 4, and they've got Tampa Bay, Florida, and Toronto in the next week. So this is their weaker opponent, and they've got to take advantage of this. The Rangers were 4-15 downfall heading into the new year. And since that time, they're 2-2. They beat Boston and Chicago while losing to Washington and Dallas. So they've beaten the teams they should have beaten and lost to the teams that they're just not as good of. The latter has come on Tuesday in a game that they had in their pocket, but fell apart and lost in overtime. They were crushing Dallas in that game, and it looked like it was an easy win, and they're off a schneid. Dallas comes all the way back, wins that game in overtime. That had to have been a terrible loss for the Rangers, especially with Vegas, Colorado, and the Devils as they play tonight on the schedule. That was a game they needed to have, and they were in position for it, and it fell apart. The way the Rangers have played this year, their psyche has got to be very weak, and to blow that in the last game, I think, is a buy sign that we can bet against them today and have some success. So I like New Jersey.
Well, Bri, it only took one game for you and I to go mano a mano, but I don't actually feel confident about this play at all. I'm telling you, but this is the only way I would play the Rangers one, and this is hoping that Shesterkin. I wouldn't think they would want to rush him back if there's an injury, because Quick is a good backup before them, especially at home as well too. He was good all season long, just as the Rangers haven't been playing well. I think it's the end of, like we said, the road trip for the Devils. They're probably in their own beds last night, and then it's a quick trip through the tunnel to face the Rangers tonight. The Rangers are 5-2-3 on the first period money line, their last 10 games at home. So at least from that standpoint, I've combed through. It's funny hearing a bad bald man use the word comb, but I've combed through as many stats as you can on the New York Rangers, and there aren't a lot of stats on sites like EV or Money Puck or any of the other ones that show any positive trends, any positive stats for the New York Rangers since opening the season. What was it, like 14-4, and then just going on a downslide. But this one here is one of the very few. They've only trailed twice in the last 10 games at home after one period of play. They're plus 125 on the money line first period. That's what I'm going to take, Andrew.
Well, I don't blame you for just wanting to take one period. Why the hell would you want to take a full game with that team right now? All right. I mean, if you're going to bet on that team, you probably don't want to play the full 60 minutes. Look, I mean, Brian and I must have been doing our homework last night together. He pretty much said everything I was going to say. So I feel like just, hey, guys, just go back to what Brian said. That's what I was going to say. We can move on to the next game a little bit here. But the thing is that, overall, Brian, when you were talking about the teams that they beat, right? And he said the teams they beat, they should have beat. And so right now, I know this might sound a little dramatic because I would say Boston's probably playing a little better. I mean, hard to say, but the Rangers, to me, are a team right now, when they play a team that's a non-playoff team that's lower than them in the standings, which is kind of hard to find, or at least that's, pretty not that good, take them. take them to win. But right now, in these situations, when they're playing playoff teams, when they're playing teams that are top, 7 or 8 Stanley Cup finalists, you have to fade them, I think. I mean, this is the point. A couple of days ago, I'm kicking myself for giving out Dallas team total on the show, but not betting it and giving it to my clients. Hey, I needed a lot of fortune to win that bet anyway, so maybe it's a good thing I didn't. But the fact of the matter is, every single time this Rangers team loses for the most part, they give up 4 goals. And the funny thing is, they had a great start to the last game. They started to protect their lead, and they just couldn't do it. This team, you know what they kind of remind me of right now, guys? The Cincinnati Bengals. You know what I mean? Like, this team, they could score 8 goals, and their opponent's going to score 9. Joe Burrow could pass for 8 passing touchdowns. The opponent will have 9. Right now, things, no matter what the Rangers do, their opponent is going to do better. And looking at some of these scores, looking at some of the goals they've given up, 6 to the Lightning, 5 to the Panthers, 7 against the Capitals, they're giving up goals in bunches. And that collapse, I mean, when you talk about the mental space of a team right now, how much different would it be going into this game, guys, if they had beat Dallas in that last game? How much are they feeling good and finally like, man, we got a good win. We didn't just get a win. We beat a good team. But no, they lose 5-4 in overtime. It's just not good. So I'm not sure if this will end up being an official play for me, guys, if I will bet this or not, to be fully clear. Number I'm seeing is -105 to get to 4 goals. That's the only way I'd play this game. I don't want to lay the chalk here because you never know what New York's going to do. But I like the fact that when they do lose, they give up 4 goals. So -105 from DK, over 3.5 with the team total. And this is kind of a point as well, is that the last time the Devils played, I had the team total under with the Kraken, under 2.5, because it was kind of a little bit of a slump for the Devils. So I figured the first game out of their slump, they're going to kind of play defense, focus on defense. Their XG numbers were still 3. Now that you got that first win after your slump, I mean, losing a game against San Jose and Anaheim, kind of embarrassing. Now the offense comes. Okay, we got our win. We're out of the slump. Here comes the offense. So, one thing that Andy Lang says a lot, and I actually really like this, it's a lot easier for a bad team to be bad than for a good team. For a bad team to be good on any given night, So it's better, these bad teams, you got to expect them to be bad. You can't try and pick the spots they're going to be that much better. I really hope that Carm gets a 2-1 after the first period and the game finishes 5-4 for the Rangers. I will be cheering for Carm's first period play, but I would be shocked to not see the Rangers give up a few goals here, Carm.
Listen, they've been doing it all season long. Other than that start, the one saving grace for the New York Rangers, if they decide to make any trades prior to the trade deadline, is the fact that the Eastern Conference is essentially 5 teams. There's 2 groups, 5 teams, and then the other 11. You got the Washington Capitals, Toronto Maple Leafs, New Jersey Devils, Florida Panthers, the Carolina Hurricanes. Those are teams we know are going to make the playoffs. Now you have 11 teams from the Boston Bruins down to the Buffalo Sabres. Well, maybe we can omit the Buffalo Sabres from that, but these teams are separated by 10 points. The Blue Jackets currently hold a playoff spot, 42 points, and the Rangers are only 4 points behind them for a playoff spot with a game in hand. Obviously, we're not counting game in hands with 41 games left in the season, but there's plenty of time for this team to turn it around. Turning it around against the New Jersey Devils maybe is a different story, but much like Brian mentioned, and I think you've mentioned, when you lose a game like you did against Dallas, you went in there, Shesterkin stood on his head in Dallas and played phenomenal, and then they come home and they have a big lead against Dallas and they blow it. It's got to be disheartening for this team. So we'll see moving forward. But I love the fact that the East is competitive, and it's competitive because there's some parity and there's some teams that just aren't stringing together wins. It's predictably unpredictable, which we haven't used that phrase this season. Speaking of predictably unpredictable, Brian Leonard, The Carolina Hurricanes opened 135. They're now 170. The Leafs plus 145 in this one. Two of the teams that are in that first group I mentioned. Are you concerned at all? The Leafs are playing extremely well right now. Are you concerned at all about the fact that Carolina, I think they've got a solid team, but goaltending is the biggest issue with this team right now. Freddie Anderson obviously injured. Kochekov, at some point, this guy isn't a guy who should be playing 60 games. There has got to be some goalie shopping for the Carolina Hurricanes. They need to get somebody in there. I think they need to fix that goaltending issue. Do you ever see John Gibson leaving Anaheim and possibly surfacing in Carolina or no?
We'll have to see. I don't know. I don't have connections on any of these trades. So when it happens, it happens. It's always a surprise to me if something happens like that. By the way, you had mentioned earlier about combing through your notes, and you used the comment that you're using a comb. Reminded me of Spaceballs. Remember that movie from like the 70s, the comedy, where they were combing the desert? That's the top of your head. You're combing the desert.
Combing the desert. I love it.
Getting back to the Toronto-Carolina game here. In a 5-5 play, expected goal share numbers for the season. Toronto 49.85. A little disappointing in that regard. Carolina 55.65. Hurricanes own just a +3 seasonal goal advantage, but Toronto has played 4 more home games than Carolina. Toronto's won 5 straight games. As you mentioned, they're playing very well right now, but the victories came against the Islanders twice, the Flyers twice, and Boston. This is the first meeting of the season between these two very good hockey squads. Carolina took money earlier today. Carolina has dropped 6 of 10 as of late, and they really have not played well the last 6 weeks. You go back to their schedule over the last month and a half, and they're just floating by. Nothing great, nothing bad. They're just not playing Hurricanes hockey. But they have taken a lot of money early today. Maybe somebody likes that matchup, but I prefer the underdog here. The way Toronto's playing right now, the betting value's got to be on the underdog. I thought the earlier line a bit cheap when it came out at 135, but now all the value to me is on Toronto. Two very good teams, and as I mentioned, Toronto's playing a lot better than Carolina is right now. You could give me this number that we're at right now, I'll take Toronto.
It's hard to blame you, Brian, based on the price we're seeing, especially. I mean, looking at this price here, I get it. We're playing in Carolina. They're playing in Carolina, and that does have something to do with the price. The Maple Leafs have especially been good at home. But, I mean, it pains me to say it. I mean, how much this team has looked great despite goalie issues, despite Austin Matthews injuries. There's been so much going wrong. And I know you look at the numbers here, Brian. One thing I saw is since December 1st, 5-on-5, the Maple Leafs are like one of the bottom 5 teams, expected goal against teams, and yet they have all kinds of wins. So if you're winning when the numbers aren't good, imagine when those numbers do get good, what they're going to be. But having said all that, I don't have it in me, so I respect you for doing it, to take the money line on the underdog. But I do like the over 5.5 here. We've seen, what is it, 4 of the last 5 games go under for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But Brian listed out the teams they played. Philadelphia a few times, Islanders a few times. There's that outlier against the Boston Bruins that had maybe 10 or 11 goals. But Carolina has changed a bit this season here, Carmine. When they're motivated and they haven't been playing good hockey right now, it's been kind of a win one, lose one type situation here. They do have goal scorers, and you mentioned the goaltending problem for them right now, and it's not like their goalies aren't good. They just don't really seem to have that clear number one that most teams have, and it's almost like they've dealt with that for years at this point, this Hurricanes team. But typically, you guys hear me when I take a 5.5 to the over, I pick one team to reach that 4-goal mark. But in this time, I'm just going to take over 5.5. I do think we'll see goals here. We've seen some solid defensive performances out of the Maple Leafs lately. But as mentioned, this is certainly a step up in competition, a step up in class against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes will be motivated in their own right based on some kind of weaker performances and inconsistencies we've seen from them lately. So, based on what we've seen from the Hurricanes over the last, not just this year, but few years, a 5.5 isn't shocking. The Maple Leafs have got good goaltending. They've been playing better defense. So we started to see more 5.5s from them. But Carm, there was a time where every single total we saw from the Maple Leafs was 6.5. There was a time where we didn't even see 6s for them now. Now we're here. I mean, this is how you know the world is changing. We're here in a point in time where most Leaf games lately are 5.5 for the total. Well, I think sometimes you got to buy the dip and go over, because I think this game has some goals tonight. Leafs and Canes over 5.5. What do you have here, Carm?
Andrew, I agree with Bryan on a lot of what he said. You look at the Leafs; it's a very good run. And listen, no one likes to poke more fun because I'm here, just north of Toronto, at the Leafs. But 11-4 their last 15 games, and I get it. You look at the 3 of the games were against the New York Islanders. There's a lot of easy games on that sched. Toronto this season is a little different than the Toronto that we saw last year, where they would perform to the other team's standard. If they played a good team, they played extremely well. They played bad teams, they would lose, like losing to Chicago a couple times, losing to Phoenix, losing to Anaheim. They were leaving points on the table. This year, they're winning, but they're not winning pretty. There's games in which they get outplayed, and they somehow win. You look at that one, I think it was against the Devils, where they tie it late, or no, against the Bruins. I think they tied it late, or gave up the late marker, and then Matthews scores in overtime, and you could see by the fist pumping, a game in which they probably shouldn't have won. There's a lot of games they probably shouldn't have won, but they're doing what other teams have done, other good teams have done in seasons past, which is sometimes you got to win games ugly, even when you're outplayed. The price here is just too attractive, plus 145. I like that price with the Leafs, and if some more Carolina money comes in, I would keep an eye on the goaltending. It's supposed to be Joseph Woll in goal. I wouldn't think that they would switch to Hildeby, but you just never know. The goaltending switches happen, and that's why you got to keep an eye until you see a confirmed starter or the morning skate, which gives us a better idea of it. But I'm going to trust the Toronto goaltending a lot more than I'm going to trust Carolina's goaltending. I think Carolina's got a great team from the defense out, but they're just not playing consistent hockey right now, and that's the biggest factor. I think they're trading wins and losses, sort of that zigzag theory, which isn't a gambling angle, but it is what it is. So we'll see if the Leafs are up, and they got Matthews back in the lineup as well too. So there's another tool for them. He scored in his last game as well too. So we'll see what we get from the Leafs. But plus 145 seems attractive. If it gets to plus 150, 155, I'm definitely going to play it. Regardless of the outcome, you're getting a team that is top 2 or top 3 in the standings, and you're getting some serious plus money on them. So I would take it in that. Andrew, before I throw it to you for your prop segment, I want to give props to Bryan Leonard, because early on in the season, I remember we went mano a mano on something, and he said to me, Logan Thompson's going to have a good season for the Washington Capitals. The guy is 17-4. He's having a phenomenal season, a really good goals against average, a good save percentage. Bryan, I got to give you props on that one, man, because he stood on his head, figuratively speaking, last night in that game against Vancouver that they should have lost. I think they had like 14 shots on net, 34 or something like that for Vancouver. But props to you, man, on calling Logan Thompson to have a good season.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you could tell when he was in Vegas that he was really upset that he wasn't going to get the starting nod over Adin Hill. But he's been very good, and the whole city hated to see him leave. But I'm just glad it's working out for him, and I'm glad it's working out for Washington. Washington's been very good to me this year, and from the betting standpoint, so it's worked out very well overall.
And Carm, real quick, what's interesting
from a betting
too?
Standpoint, Andrew's props playlist.
I was going to say real quick, he's Canadian too. And what's interesting is he's playing so well, and he didn't make the Canadian 4-nation roster, but Adin Hill did. I mean, look at the numbers that he's putting up. It's almost like it was just pre-planned. You realistically could have put both Thompson and Hill on the roster. Like, I think that roster, I mean, Thompson is probably laying in bed at night thinking, what else could I have done this season to make this team? Because it's not going to get much better than what he's doing right now. But great point, pointing that out there, Carm, because he is having a phenomenal season, and Brian was right. And we're seeing that a lot. I mean, Swayman and Allmark. Allmark goes to Ottawa. He played extremely well before he got hurt, of course. Carm, you mentioned that zigzagging is not a real theory, but unfortunately that's been a theory with the props for me lately. Win one day with the guys, lose one day with some of these guys. And so we're trying to get back on track. I have 3 props here. And I've been personally doing well with some of these goal-scoring props. And I never really was a goal-scoring prop guy, but lately I've been finding some value. I have 2 pure goal scorers that just are, top-line guys today, but I just like the price we're getting on them. The first prop I'm going to start with, though, is Jared McCann from the Seattle Kraken. I think he's going to get a point tonight, and he's got 5 straight points against the Columbus Blue Jackets. This Seattle team has been very inconsistent, guys, very up and down. Their offense has been very streaky. And even though Columbus currently, as far as their points percentage, sits inside a playoff spot in the East, I still don't trust their defense. Their offense has been better. Their offense has been making plays. They have not just one line, they have multiple lines of scorers. But I think based on some recent competition Seattle has faced, this should be an easier game for them to create some offense. And as mentioned, some players play better against certain teams. Jared McCann, he's got 5 points in 5 straight games against the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll take him at a nice minus 125 price. Guys, you guys can see that promo code below. You can take $50 off a 30-day package from myself or Carmine with that promo code PUCK50, WT.buzz/AM. We're hitting 70% since early December. It's a great deal, and hopefully we can keep things going off a big winner last night. The second play we're going to look at, and as a Montreal Canadiens fan, I hate saying good things about this player and this team, Austin Matthews to get a goal. At plus 140, guys, I can't pass this up. I honestly cannot pass this up because there were times earlier this season and last year where this was a minus price, minus 130, minus 140 for a guy to score a goal. And now we're getting plus 140 here for Austin Matthews. He has 2 goals in 3 games since returning from his injury. And at this price, I'm going to continue to bet Austin Matthews to score. They give him all kinds of time. He's out there with the empty netters even. He's out there on the power play. This is a price that I cannot pass up on. And the next one is going to be another pure goal scorer, Jake Gensel from the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is a Tampa Bay team that has only like 1 win in their last 4 games. It's been really, really up and down for them. Tonight, they have a little bit of a better opportunity against a Boston Bruins team that's just not playing good against playoff-bound teams. As I mentioned earlier in the show today, this Boston Bruins team is very similar to New York. You bet on them when they're playing weak teams. You bet against them when they're playing against good teams. I think Jake Gensel finds the back of the net. And, hey, plus 180 is a pretty good price for a pure goal scorer like Gensel. So, Carm, I decided to mix in some goal scorers today, and honestly, I love those prices we're getting on 2 really good players.
Andrew, I'm with you, man. I'm going to watch the game with some friends. They're obviously all Leaf fans. So we're going to watch the Carolina-Toronto game tonight. I'm going to take an Uber. I still don't want to start my vehicle, but we'll give it a few days for Buster to calm down. But with that said, we have, and I had to put this game on there because it's Brian Leonard's on the show, number 1. He's wearing the Vegas Golden Knights, number 2. And my favorite prop is in play. So it is the Vegas Golden Knights, New York Islanders, minus 180 on Vegas, plus 150 on the Islanders. Looks like it's going to be Hill and Sorokin. 27-13 Vegas is on the puck line, 15-6 at home. They're 13-2 their last 15 games overall, 8-2 to the over their last 10, or sorry, not to the over, on the puck line of their last 10 games. Obviously, those all come together because Vegas is playing some really good hockey right now, and yet the puck line here, you're getting some good plus money on it. Vegas -1.5 plus 145. I get it. The New York Islanders, or the Thailanders, as people like to call them, like to stay in games for as long as they can. But if Vegas has the lead in this one in the third period, they either salt it away or get the empty netter. Maybe Andrew can make a call to the man upstairs for me. Vegas Golden Knights -1.5 plus 145, and I'll send it to Brian for his thoughts.
Before I get to this game, since you were mentioning stats, did you guys see the stats on Georgiev, the goalie, when he was in San Jose and Colorado? Do you happen to know exactly what that number is, Andrew? It was outstanding, just amazing, the numbers in the first period of his games.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the exact number, but it's brutal. It is brutal. Like, I can't remember. I know what you're saying, and
like 4 and 25 or something. Yeah.
He
was crazy.
He was playing on a good team. That's the craziest part. Is like, it's not even like he was playing on a bad team. He was playing on a pretty good team too.
Yeah. So if anybody in the chat remembers that, because it's been pretty highly publicized, it was just amazing stat. But getting back to the Islanders and Vegas game, these two are virtually equal on the season in 5-on-5 goal share, expected goal share. Something you wouldn't expect based on the records. It's been the Islanders special teams that have been the problem. The problem actually has been more when they're shorthanded. They've been terrible. They're the worst in the league in that regard. And Vegas does have a whopping plus 56 goal advantage on the season between the two. The Islanders do enter this game rested, having played just once in the last 6 days. They are off an overtime win in Boston and on Sunday. Carmine was nice enough to talk about something that I had mentioned in the past that worked out well. I think this is going to work out well too. After Vegas won in Minnesota on December 15th, I'd pointed out how weak their schedule was the rest of the month. They played Vancouver, Seattle, Anaheim, San Jose, Calgary, and Montreal. And since the new year, the Knights have faced Philadelphia, Buffalo, and San Jose. And they got the Islanders and the Rangers up next. So right now, they are very overrated. They got the best record in the league over the last month, but it's against some weak competition. The schedule has been lesser competition, and the vast majority of their games have been at home. So right now, Vegas looks like world beaters. Problem is, are they an overrated team? Yes, they are an overrated team, but this line isn't high enough for me to want to get involved with the Islanders here. But when Vegas steps up in the next week or so against better teams, I think we're going to find a lot of value fading them because of all the weak opponents they have played in the last month. And that's something to look forward to. So Vegas is usually a pretty good-sized favorite. I think there's some good underdog spots coming up to fade them.
Brian, sorry. When I look at this game, I couldn't agree with you more. I was trying to find my numbers because I was looking at the Vegas Golden Knights yesterday. There's a website that I use called tankathon.com, and it actually works for multiple sports, where it pretty much will list the strength of schedule. And I know a lot of people are talking about strength of schedule these days heading into wildcard weekend in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Well, you hit it right on the head. I mean, and you know all about this Vegas Golden Knights team. So they have the 28th ranked strength of schedule, obviously ranking from easiest to hardest moving forward for the remainder of the season. So I was on a show yesterday talking about future bets, and we were talking about President's Trophy, talking about divisional bets and different things like that. And look, this team, there's no denying it's a great team. They're very talented, but it feels like every single game, Brian, we were breaking down like San Jose is in town to take on the Golden Knights. The Ducks are in town to take on the Golden Knights. It just seemed like all the teams that have like a 0.250 win percentage were playing against the Golden Knights. And then New York is like that weird team, right? Because you never know what the hell they're going to do. You don't really know who they are to their true identity. Patrick Roy has pretty much called out his team for not having enough talent. But one thing that you said that really stood out to me is that they are the dead last team in not only penalty killing, they're the dead last team in power play. I have to ask Ralph, I don't know if he has access to this actually. We'll have to check on the NHL websites that historically, when's the last time a team was dead last in both PK and PP? That is incredible. I mean, people talk about special teams deciding a game in football. Well, for people that are getting into hockey right now, watching this show, special teams, that word, that expression, that phrase is used in hockey as well. And that means power play plus penalty kill. And you're supposed to have your penalty kill and your power play add up to at least 110, right? Based on your percentage on each of those things. That's what most hockey coaches would look for. As far as the Islanders right now, it's like negative. They're horrible. They're dead last in both of those topics. And the Vegas Golden Knights have a really, really good power play. So I feel like this one's going to be just one here where I want to take a look at the Vegas Golden Knights. But the problem I've had, Brian, and I know I said earlier in the show we can't think like this, is I'm just waiting for a flat spot from this team. When the hell are they going to take a team lightly? They don't take any teams lightly whatsoever. So I am not a puck line better. I very, very rarely bet puck lines because I like to just do team totals. I like the value today we're getting on the Vegas Golden Knights puck line. And as of right now, I just do not trust this New York team defensively. So that's my play here, the puck line for the Vegas Golden Knights. And Carm, I'm looking forward to another challenge play from you. So what do you have for us today? What's cooking?
Let's get before I get to it, I want to credit because Brian asked or mentioned this one, but didn't have the stats. So I want to credit this one to Ian Cameron, who had tweeted out about this. Ian Cameron of the Ice Guys, who does great stuff with Alex B. Smith, talking NHL. But he had tweeted this out: 1-20-4, 1 win, 20 losses, 4 pushes for teams in the first period that have started Georgiev in goal. So there's the stat, Brian. With Georgiev in goal, his team has only led at the end of 20 minutes in 1 of 25 games. So a good tweet there by Ian Cameron. All right, so we got to get Dan and I to the Super Bowl. We got a flat tire with the first bullet. We still have another bullet left after this one. Hopefully we don't need that one. I think Dan approves of this one. So I am going to go with a puck line play in this one. I'm taking the Edmonton Oilers in Pittsburgh tonight. Yes, Andrew and his Sid the Kid, he's going to say that he hates the play, but Edmonton -1.5 plus 120. The Oilers 12-2-1 the last 15 games, playing extremely well. 4-game losing streak for the Pens. Edmonton beat Pittsburgh in Edmonton earlier this season 4-0, and they have 7 straight wins in the series. And in those 7 games, each game has been an Oiler win of 3 or more goals. Sometimes you get a team that just plays really well against another team, and you just ride that number, whether it's this year, last 2 years combined, last 3 years combined. Sometimes it takes on a life of its own, and that's what we're doing here. We're taking the Edmonton Oilers -1.5 plus 120, and that is 2 to win 240. And hopefully we get a winner, and we have a 440 bet on Friday's card for you guys as well too. So Andrew, come on, man. I know you love Sid the Kid, but at what point do we stop calling him a kid? It's kind of like Daniel Negreanu, Kid Poker. Dude, you're like 40 years old. You're no longer a kid. That moniker has to drop at some point.
Carm, I'll give you a perfect example. A lot of my nicknames with my friends have to do with me being skinny, because when I was a kid, I was skinny as a rake and a hockey stick. I'm not that skinny anymore, but I still get those nicknames called towards me. You just keep the nicknames. It's kind of like, just whatever you were called as when you were younger, those nicknames remain. And I think with Sid the Kid, he will just be called that because people don't want to realize that he's getting older. And it's kind of sad to really think that he's getting older. And the Washington Capitals, Alexander Ovechkin, after he finishes chasing Gretzky's record, how much longer does he have in the NHL? It's sad. But Carm, I'll be cheering for you tonight. I'll be cheering for you. Oilers are in a good spot, and I like that plus money. So looking forward to that. I'm just happy it's a bigger slate tonight. I've been able to make some money on some of these smaller slates, but Brian, we've got more opportunities, more chances with a bigger slate like here today on Thursday. What's a free play you can give out for us, and what do you have going on for clients?
Yeah, right now I've got a 4% play up in the NHL. I did have that game that was canceled last night in the Kings. That was my only play last night, so it didn't get played. So we're back on the ice tonight on a really nice run in hockey, 17-9, and I play a lot of underdogs, so that makes it even better. But we do have a 4% up, and I'm looking to possibly put up another one. As soon as the show's over with, I'll finalize my card in the NHL. But that's up on the site right now, doing very well. I'm going to take a look at this Seattle and Columbus game, and I'm a little perplexed here. Why is Seattle the slight road favorite here? You know, when you look at 5-on-5 expected goal share, you find the Kraken at 44.11, third worst in the lead, just above Anaheim and San Jose. Columbus comes in at 48.18 on the season. They have a +5 seasonal goal advantage between the two. And the Blue Jays come in having won 5 of 7. They're playing good hockey right now, while Seattle's lost 3 straight, all at home, before heading out on this 5-game trip. I know the motivation is on Seattle. Anytime you lose at home, you want to get back out on the road and turn that around. But they're the lesser team here, and they have to play on the road. Columbus should be about a 120 favorite here, and yet if you shop around, you can get them at plus money. I like Columbus here. This is a team that I've had a good feel on all season long, and we've done pretty well. They should be the favorite here. There's no way Seattle should be a favorite on the road in this situation. Give me Columbus and grab it now before I think the line changes as the day goes on.
All right, Bri, best of luck to you. That's a great run. Trying to get one of those going myself for the last 5. So let's see NHL winners. Let's keep that going right through the end of the weekend and the end of the season, of course. I'm sticking to the same game as you. And this is one that I've talked about on the show quite a few times, and I've tweeted out about. The Columbus Blue Jackets at home seem to be an over machine. If someone said to you at the beginning of the season, okay, listen, your first 21 bets are going to guarantee you 17 wins, you would say, give it to me. Come on, man. I want it. The Columbus Blue Jackets on the season, 28-12-1 to the over. At home, 17-4 to the over at home. And there are some good teams on that they've claimed scalps of some teams like the Carolina Hurricanes, some very good teams that come in to Columbus, and they seem to play a different style of hockey. They entertain their fans. They score goals. We're getting plus money on this one. It's over 6.5. It's plus 105, and it's because I think it's the Seattle Kraken, who aren't a team you generally equate with high-scoring teams, but sometimes this Columbus Blue Jackets team sucks you into their type of game that they want to play, which is an up-and-down game. I'm hoping that is something that happens tonight. I'm riding that 17-4 trend at home to the over with Columbus. We're getting some plus money, so I like the fact that we're not paying any vig on it, and hopefully that will get us a winner. A couple of plays up in the NHL for me tonight, and my NFL card should be finalized as well today as too. I'm going to try and keep a very good run in the NFL going. Andrew, I'll throw it to you for your best bet and close it out.
Love it, Carm. And as Prez says, keep rolling, man. Keep rolling. Build that NHL streak. And it's a good night to do it tonight. This is a nice card here. It looked like it might be a 3-game card, 3-pack in the NHL for me and my clients. Guys, look, it was another winning night last night. Very fortuitous, but hey, we got the job done. We're going to take a couple plays a day, but no more. You know, we're going to right now, when I look at this streak I've had, you know, of the volume has been the big thing for me. There has been some days where I've given out 3 or 4 plays, but for right now, we're going to take this volume and just keep it the way it is, 1 or 2 plays per day. And then if it's a big card like today, like Thursday, it'll be a rarity to have 3 plays. But that promo code PUCK50, PUCK50, if you guys want to jump on board, you want to get all my NHL plays for 30 days, use that promo code, take $50 off, PUCK50. It's a great deal, a great promo. And dating back to the preseason, we're at the top of the rankings for NHL at WagerTalk. So let's keep things going. And the free play, which is also a client play, first period over 1.5 goals, Colorado and Minnesota. Look, both teams have had good goaltending lately. I get it. But Colorado, perfect disaster for them. Second half of a back-to-back, and they're off that game against Chicago. Are you kidding me? Why are teams having letdown games against the Blackhawks? It feels like the only teams that are losing to the Blackhawks right now are teams that are on winning streaks and just don't take them serious. Well, if you want to talk about look ahead, they're playing a Minnesota team that's won 4 straight games. Confidence is at an all-time high despite not having their superstar, Kirill Kaprizov. This team is playing very well offensively. But because both teams are good defensively and in goal, we're getting minus 120 on the first period over. This is a discount. So we'll take the first period over for a free play and a client play here on PuckTime. Great stuff. Carmine, Bryan, myself, we appreciate all of you for watching us here on PuckTime every single day. Do us a favor, smash that like button. As I always tell you, I love when we get more likes and more views than WagerTalk today with 15 guests they have on that show. It's only the 3 of us on this show, guys. So show us some love, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you tomorrow. Same spot, same time, right here on PuckTime.